Y nos vamos para Centroamérica.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Central American Voices podcast. Today, we are with Astrid Kayembe, a writer and journalist from South Central LA. She focuses on hyperlocal storytelling. Raised in South Central from Belizean, Garifuna, and Congolese descent, Astrid Kayembe, welcome.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for calling me.
Yes. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz, because she was the one who was like, I think we need to interview Astrid. And I was like, yes.
Oh, okay, well, shout out Liz.
Shout out Liz. Well, first, before we go into it, thank you to Bird Punch for this studio, this beautiful studio. And I'm so excited to get to know more about your work and your storytelling. So let's go to South Central. Let's start there. How was for you growing up in South Central, especially from Belizean and Garifuna and Congolese descent? How was for you growing up there?
South Central is my favorite place in the world. I hope there's a South Central in heaven. I try to always contextualize my being in South Central with the story of my family because I think that's so important. My grandma first came over to escape an abusive relationship. And she first came over, and I love going through all her letters and photos that all of her kids, my mom and her siblings would send to her. Mm-hmm. And so she one by one just like brought all of her kids over, and my mom was like my age when she first came over to America. And so yeah, they all kind of settled in South Central, all kind of lived within like a few blocks of each other. Just created this little pod in South Central and into this really amazing, beautiful Belizean community here. Growing up in South Central was just really, really great. And I think it's not until reflecting on it now that I think I really took it for granted, just the fact that there were so many Belizean people here. Going to school when I was younger, I always thought, and I think I was, my school is predominantly in the neighborhood in South Central, at least to what it seemed was like predominantly like African American. Okay. And growing up also as I'm not an only child technically, but I was the only child for my mom and my dad. So I was kind of raised an only child. And so I didn't really have any, before going to school, all my entire cultural context was like my very immigrant household. And so going to school was like, I had no sort of reference point for anything anybody was talking about. I like learned the lyrics to like Lollipop by Lil Wayne like while I was at school. You know what I mean? Like, and like learn Beyonce songs like at school. Like my house was like very, very differently. There wasn't like a lot of that there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I feel like a lot of times I feel like I maybe had to like, I guess maybe assimilate, honestly, into that culture. And it was just really interesting because I would like learn AAVE at school. But my mom, growing up in like sort of colonial Belize was like, we speak the Queen's English in this house. So it was a very dichotomous relationship where, like I said, I grew up in one way in my household and then, had to socially survive a completely different way at school. Okay. Yeah.
That's very interesting because, I mean, but Belize is the only country in Central America that speaks English.
Yeah.
I mean, there are other part of Central American countries that have like English too, but like as a main language is only Belize. I would assume like it's like, it's the same English.
No.
Wow, I mean, that's interesting, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, well, it is, but they're just a lot more proper and a lot more strict. Okay. Like I said, like because Belize only got its independence in 1981, so the Queen was on their money until she died. You know what I mean? Like
it was very just recently.
exactly. Very strong colonial presence there. I think it's such a really interesting relationship and I believe like Belizeans specifically, especially like Black Belizeans, I should specify, and the way that we're able to sort of assimilate into African American sort of culture in LA, because it wasn't until there was like this like really cool kid in my school. His name was Jovan. He was like so cool. Like all the girls liked him. All the guys wanted to be him, and I ran into him at this like Belizean like cultural event, and I was like, wait, I'm like, you're Belizean too?
They're like, you should have said that.
I know, and I was like, okay, I'm like, maybe like I am kind of cool, you know what I mean? Like maybe this isn't like a bad experience. I was like, maybe I'm just not cool, you know? Going to these cultural events, and there were so many because there's a huge Belizean population here and a huge Garifuna population at that. That I was able to meet people who like had a greater understanding of like what my household was. Yeah. And like I said, so speaking to that sort of like assimilation, if you will, it's just really funny because it's like a Black Belizean can, like I said, easily kind of assimilate into African American culture, kind of and go kind of unrecognized. It's just that when you like go to the homie's house and there's rice and beans there, you're like, oh wait, you're like something's different here.
Wait, something is different.
Yeah, the music's like
Yeah.
they're not playing Usher here. Like, what's going on?
You know what? I find that very interesting because I think what you were saying a little bit of like, oh, I didn't know this person was like Belizean, and like, you're so cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your household, you were like, oh, like it had to be like very different. And then, like, I would say a school and like outside of your house is like, oh, like very assimilating to like African American. I mean, would you say assimilating or a little bit? I don't know how to explain.
Yeah, because I guess it just depends on what I like. I think my experience, I would say, like, try to assimilate.
Okay, try to
'cause I feel
assimilate.
like that kept me sort of quote unquote like safe in that. That was the dominant culture at school, so that's what I felt like I had to blend into.
You have to
know?
blend in.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah. I mean, at least for me as a Honduran, like, I feel like the same in a way, but it was most of like with the Mexican culture that I was like, oh, like, I don't see much of Central American here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People are making fun of my platanito, like, you know.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I have to like understand a little bit more of the slang, more the music, more of what is happening here, which I just think it's very interesting to see that from someone who, you know, Belizean and had to assimilate to an African American, you know. Community.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because I think even like as a Black Central American and as a Black Belizean, it's like it's really interesting hearing like all my like Salvia homegirls like talk about that experience as well. But like that I could never be mistaken for Mexican, you know. Like there was never a way I could have been mistaken for Mexican.
They were just like I think they would just put you on the box of like you're just African American.
Yeah,
like, they
regardless.
They weren't asking you where are you from.
Yeah,
that was not a question.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is very interesting.
Right, yeah.
You know?
It's a similar but different.
But different. It's similar but different.
Yeah.
But I think it's, again, I think when listening to your story, I was like, oh, that's very interesting. Because, again, I didn't know that is, at least growing up here as a, you know, Black Belizean, it's like, yeah, of course. Like, people would just think that you're just African American.
Yeah.
You know, the same way they'll put all the people on like on the Mexican box.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Until it was just really funny because it always gets like pointed out to me. It would get pointed out to me sometimes where like I would like quote unquote like slip, you know, if you know what I mean. Like I remember for a while I used to say like warm instead of like warm. And they'd be like, why do you say it like that? And I'm like, oh, wait. I'm like, let me course correct. Or if I'm like humming like songs, it'd be, or if I'm like, you know, kind of singing some songs, it'd always be like some like, you know, like dance halls. Like it'd be a dance hall song. They're just like, why are you saying like wind your waist? It's like, what are you saying right now?
And were you always like proud, like, oh, growing up, we're like, oh, I'm proud to be Belizean or like Garifuna, or were just like that happened a little bit more like when you got older?
It was a little hard to try to be proud of that in that environment, especially like because it was so different. I felt like there was just such a huge like chasm between, again, my house and school and all the kids I had to interact with on a day-to-day. But my mom, I think started to understand that, especially again because of the way I'd come home and speak like Ebonics or like AAVE, you know what I mean? She'd put me in these like dance groups, these like Garifuna cultural dance groups. And so not only would I like be able to go to different cultural events, but I'd get to perform, I'd learn all the dances, learn songs, learn artists, and really just like get to immerse myself in the culture that way and sort of learn how to carry on our traditions that way. And so yeah, I think at some point I started to embrace it. I would say I was around like by this time like maybe 8 or 9,
Okay.
I think. Yeah. But I would say like the first couple of years, like, 'cause, you know, being in school, when it starts to matter socially, like this is like so crazy to talk about like 5 and 6 year olds this way. But like between like 5 and 7 years old, maybe it was kind of just like, oh no, I have to like zip this away. Like I'm just like everybody else. And then yeah, once I said like I was able to like participate in the culture rather than sort of be a witness of it in my own household, that's when I feel like I was really able to embrace it and embrace those differences.
Oh, I love that. And were you like taught the language?
Not really.
Okay.
I understand some words, but not formally.
Okay.
Not formally, but I know the dances. I know like our major holidays.
Oh,
I like know how to
yeah.
pray. But I don't know. I'm actually in Garifuna lessons right now.
Oh, I love that.
Actually, yeah.
Love that.
Shout out. I got it because it's a Garifuna name. Arufa Dahati, Ubafu, is my teacher. He started this program. Him and Arufu Dahati Ere, another teacher in the program, started this really, really, really great program to teach. It's just called Grofuna for non-speakers. So, and in my class, there's like, we didn't really do intros, but like you can tell there's just like a range of people in the class. There's like me, who's like born and raised here to Garifuna parents. There's like people who like are not Garifuna, are speaking Garifuna for the first time in their life. There are people who are like in Belize learning to speak Garifuna too. Yeah, so I like, it's a really, really great program, and it's only $25 per class. Like,
sign me up.
And it's like, you know, and like Garifuna is like an endangered language, you know, so it's highly specialized, and they're really doing a solid for the community.
I love that. I wanted to ask now, kind of transitioning more into how do you get into journalism?
Yeah.
I think you did mention a little bit about your grandma receiving letters. When you said that, I was like, was that how you got into like you know, inspired to like go into journalism, or was it is it something from your family, something that it was because you grew up in South Central? Like, how was that like, oh, I want to pursue this as a career growing up?
Yeah, kind of all of the above. I think like culturally, Garifuna people are like storytellers down, like from gossip to traditions, you know, everything gets passed down orally. Everything I knew about the Garifuna people was taught to me orally. You know, there's not like necessarily like a Garifuna class you can take. I think there was at some point, but I was never in it. But everything I learned was like from my mom, from my like, you know, dance instructors, from like her, like the dance instructor's mom, you know what I mean? Just passed down like through oral traditions, and like practicing the culture in ways that maybe I'm not able to being in America, you know what I mean? That isn't, there are different ways of participating in that culture. So I think that just like storytelling just kind of is like in my blood at that point, you know? But genuinely, and I love to gossip. Again, I was raised an only child, so I didn't have anybody to talk to but my mom. So
gossiping with your mom,
you know,
tea.
Exactly, best tea. And my mom always used to make this joke that like, you know, like she'd drop me off at school. She'd pick me up. I'd be telling a story. I'm like telling the story until I like go to sleep, basically. Like wake up, continue telling the story, go back to school, get the updates, come back. When she picks me up, there's more.
Like, I am also researching, mommy. I'm bringing you, you know, resources.
Exactly. I'm giving you all the tea right now. So I think really that was just like a big yapper from day one. And I swore like I wanted to go into like music or something. Because I was just like, I was a stan of like mindless behavior back in the day. So I swore I wanted to be like into like music. In the same breath, I was always like writing like, I don't know, like fan fiction with my friends. And I was always like, I don't know, just writing diary entries, always like being so obsessed with pencils and stationery. And oh my god, one of the best things my mom ever did for me was like get me like a Nick magazine subscription, which then turned into like a Teen Vogue subscription randomly. You know, like my mom also like read tabloids. She was a big reader, so like words and literature, even if it is like, you know, In Touch magazine, was like part of my life always. And there was, again, other than talk to my mom, the only other thing to do was read. So I just loved the written word. And so yeah, by the time it came time for college, I was like, okay, yeah, journalism probably makes the most sense for me.
It's like I've been doing that all life. Yeah,
and you know, and it was just, I really wanted to see myself represented in stories, be it as somebody who's from South Central, and it's just seeing, especially, I think there's just a lot of storytelling happening around South Central at one time. Like I think right around maybe the time I was going to college, I think there was like a big anniversary of like the LA riots or the LA uprising rather. And also just like a lot of like especially storytelling around like police brutality, I think was like a huge kind of news point, or like a huge like, you know, thing in the news, I think in like in the 10s, especially following the death of Trayvon Martin. And I just really wanted to be able to tell stories the way, like in it, just like from the perspective of people who the stories weren't being told from, you know. Yeah, and so I think seeing all of that in the news, again, between like just growing up in South Central and seeing how like stereotyped the neighborhood was, and like, I don't know, some of like people's like only reference point for South Central is like Boys in the Hood, you know, or like Menace to Society. And I'm just like, dude, like, me and my friends just love to go to Science Center and kick it. Like, it's like not like that. And so, yeah, and it was shows like Insecure, I think that like sort of changed that narrative as well around South Central. Shows like On My Block that had that kind of like nuanced storytelling about what it means to grow up and be, you know, come of age in South Central. Really helped inspire me to just like want to be able to storytell about South Central. And so journalism was the first medium in which I was like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and I love that. You know, I think you mentioned something so beautiful. A little bit of like Garifuna has always been storytellers. Because I sometimes tell random facts. I often tell people that when I meet other people that they don't know nothing about Central America, I become like a teacher to just saying random facts, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like, do you know, this about the Garifunas? Do you know this about Belize or Honduras and stuff like that? And I'm always, and I told you this prior to this, I'm always like, you guys have survived so much, and preserved the culture for so many years, and it has been because of oral storytelling.
Yeah.
And I think this is just beautiful.
Totally. And even when I was asking my mom, because I was like, I know I learned from like you, but I'm like, where did you learn from? Like, did you learn from like your grandma and like your mom? And she was like, honestly, like they would have these like kind of Garifuna conventions in Belize where like historians and researchers would like come and like help share the story like of their history. You know what I mean? It's like, I think that's so important. Like, I think that's so important. Like, it might sound a little cheesy that's just like, yeah, we have a little Garifuna conference and we go and like we learn about ourselves. But I think that's so necessary, right? Because like nobody can tell you who you are, right? There's like a contentious narrative about whether or not like Garifuna people were actually enslaved or not, you know what I mean? Or enslaved, or whether or not we were like, you know, Mali explorers from the Mali Empire, which, you know, I'm not a historian, then I wasn't there. So,
exactly.
But, you know, there's like there's these competing narratives, and I think that's why it's so important to tell people who they are, because I think there's sort of active systems, both past and present, to sort of erase that history and erase and prevent people from knowing who they are.
Yes. Yeah. It's just beautiful. Like, I mean, having a conference, I think that's pretty cool though, because there's so many in Mesoamerica, the whole American continent, there were so many cultures who were erased after colonization. And it's like, you know, and also so many cultures that were erased because of slavery and like all that happened through all that. But then if we focus on the Garifuna community, you know, like I said, there's so many things that we still need to learn, and like, but I always love how you guys preserve dances, culture, language. Like, it can only be because of someone teaching you and like continue passing it down. You know, the same thing as your mom. You're like, well, yeah, you learn it from your mom, but you should learn it from someone. And they're like, oh, but this person, think, you know what I mean? It's so much just like, here's like the next person, the next generation. You know, I just think that is so beautiful, because a lot of at least for myself, I know my side of my mom's side, indigenous style, that language is gone. That language is not, and we know like that happened like years ago, you know. And I just think it's beautiful to have something that you can always pass down to future generations. And I think that in a sense now you are as a journalist, but that you're also talking about here in South Central, and you know, specific South Central, but LA. I read your articles and I was like, this feels different. It feels relatable. It feels personal. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is how I see the community too. You know, I think that's such a beautiful place of your writing and your articles and the work that you've been doing, because a lot of people like to write from outside, not understanding anything.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and that's what I try to do. And, you know, on that note about like, you know, Garifuna people and like, you know, indigenous communities being discriminated against, I think that's what's always been so magical to me about South Central as a Garifuna American, is like people move from Belize to America. Garifuna people migrate to America. And I know like our census numbers like aren't exactly the most up to date, but there are like a really, really big amounts of Garifuna people living in the United States, and perhaps like even more than like in any individual country in Central America. Yeah. And that culture continues to thrive here. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't die there. It always warms my heart every holiday season to see. We do a tradition called Jankunu. It's a traditional dance where men dress up and sort of mimic their colonizer, kind of the way that they would come kind of dressed adorned, and like have all the British would be in their ribbons, and the Spanish would come in their like bright clothes. And they do kind of dances because they were always kind of like they're always kind of like scared and timid. So they're always they kind of like feminize the way that or like kind of make fun of the feminine ways, if you will, of like the colonizers. That they're always kind of like timid and like, you know, just kind of weirdos. And every year, so they usually do that dance on Christmas and New Year's, and every year there's always like younger and younger kids that I see doing that dance, and it warms my heart every time. Their little shoes and their little shells and their crowns and their ribbons. It's like I didn't even realize shoes came that small, but it's always so heartwarming, and it's like no, like the culture continues to thrive in the States, and I think it's so beautiful because I know that that Garifuna people face like a lot of marginalization and displacement in countries like Honduras and Guatemala, and so it's really great to see that when people are here that there is like a huge community around that, and yeah, even like the babies are continuing to like move our culture forward, and it's really heartwarming.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, this is a random fact, but I used to work at McDonald's. And the flag that I used to see more on the dashboard was the Belizean flag.
Yeah.
And I remember like it was like I was seeing it and I was like, there's a lot of Belizean. And like you are so right. The census has like it doesn't, because again, that was where I see the most. I was like, I don't even see other flag as much as I seen the Belizean flag. And I was like, that's so cool. I remember just talking to them and like in the drive-thru, I was like, that is so cool. What part of Belize? I've never been to Belize, but what part of it? Tell me about it.
I'm dead. Yeah. Sure enough, I have a flag in my window.
That's how I know she was coming, because it was a flag.
It's my heritage.
Hey, we need to be proud of it. But I love that. I wanted to kind of like ask you a little bit about some of your pieces that I wanted to read. I think the first one that I read, I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. It was a piece that you did for LA Taco. Yeah. The Gusina Saraba. Okay. Gusina Saraba. Which is a food truck here in South Central. So this piece felt more than food. I felt like a history and identity. How do you approach stories like this? Because I feel like when I was reading it, you gave me all in one article. You gave me history, you gave me facts, you gave me sceneries, you sent me, it transport you to a place. I visualized it. Like, why for you? How do you approach stories like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. That was such a long time ago. I was in college when I did that. We did if I could publicize, we did a really dope collaboration. I had a professor who was really close with Javier Cabral, who's the editor-in-chief of LA Taco. And luckily, we had this like really cool class where we can make a collaborative community zine with LA Taco, and they would sell it on their website. And so I chose to write about the food truck. And how do I even choose? I know I always wanted to write about them. I didn't like necessarily like break the story. I think I saw that on like Eater LA that they had done it. But because it's closer to my culture, I wanted to sort of highlight like what it meant for this man to be doing this, because it was like the only Garifuna food truck, at least at the time. And LA food truck culture is like insane. So,
insane.
Yeah, and so it was really great to hear somebody who had like a formal like chef training kind of bring this elevated approach to Garifuna cooking. And yeah, and again, like I said, I'm so inspired by the magic of Los Angeles that describing like a food truck underneath palm trees. It's like there's a breeze out. it's hot, and this man's like, let's get you like a fish snapper, let's get you a red snapper. I just really wanted to paint the picture of like what it means to be sort of Belizean and Garifuna, and like how those places kind of meld together at any given point, and a lot in South Central. But yeah, it really is just out of my curiosity is how I approach most of my stories. Like I just wanted to talk to Winston about how he felt running the truck, about how he identifies, and just like how food is kind of this vehicle for his culture and the way that he puts forward his culture. I think in the story he talks about like kind of like wanting to build something for his kids and wanting to pass on the culture for his kids. And the food truck is since shuttered, but it was really great to see that he had the food truck, and then they had a spot in Mercado La Paloma, which was so exciting because it's such a heavily trafficked and so it's a pretty like prestigious like kind of spot to get, but due to health reasons he had to shut down the spot, but it became my family's favorite spot. You know what I mean? It was just like it was a really special, I could tell it was going to be a really special place for folks, and it was. The food was great. Food was great. We celebrated while we can, while he was there, we celebrated every birthday there, and it's so important to have spaces like that. And that's, it's always, I think, at the heart of my work is just like people, and it's like how, people and place sort of shape community and shape communities. So
I know you said a little bit of like, this was like, out of your own curiosity. You always wanted to write about it.
I'm just nosy.
Yeah. Hey, the gossip we talked about.
Exactly.
We talked about,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? But do you feel a sense of responsibility when, like, for this piece, like writing about someone from Belize, but also the Garifuna, but also like it's in LA, and it's also like, all those layers.
Yeah.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility?
Of course. I mean, like with everything.
Okay.
Of course. But yeah, I think because it was so close to home, and there's also, that's like going on a side tangent, but I feel like a lot of journalists get kind of punished even for like writing about stories that are too close to home, but it really just comes from like a shared understanding of experience, and that's why the stories are close to home. Right? It's close to the heart. And I don't think that should be shunned in any way for what it's worth.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not, I people said this is also a little type of journalist, but I'm not like not a trained journalist. But I'm always like, I think to me, I think a person who understands that should be writing about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like I often criticize sometimes when like at least in academia, when people are talking about just in general like Central American culture and you have not visited, like. Exactly. Exactly. We will question it. But I like read this song, like I said, the way I felt like reading it and like picture it and smell and like you like I'm a very visual person, so I was able to see that, and I think it only comes with the understanding and the meaning of what this food truck means for LA, means for Belizean, means for Garifunas, and understanding that it's a good food.
Exactly. It's just having context, right? It's the ability to pick out details, and I've always admired journalists that are able to do that. There's like always a rule in journalism where it's like, get the name of the dog. This is like an extended metaphor, but like if you're allergic to dogs and you can't, like, you're not even going to want to interact with the dog, you know what I mean? But my point is to say that like if you have that kind of added context, it gives you a deeper appreciation. And yeah, I'm very close to a lot of my work, and maybe that's not the quote unquote like most journalistically like sound, but I like to write about things that are important to me and important to my community. That's how I get down.
We love that.
Yeah,
we love that. And I have another article here that when I was reading it, I laughed because I was like, this is the most LA thing that could be.
Oh my god.
Waiting line. Waiting. I laughed because I was like, I would never thought that you can write an article about this.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And I was like, wait, this is cool. You know what I mean? I think, so that's like the other articles that I wanted to talk about. I think it was so smart. How do you find story like this? Like it's an everyday LA life.
One of my favorite parts of my job is that, especially like being like an LA culture reporter, is that I really just get to experience life in LA and then write about it. I just have to live. I just have to live.
I just have to. You're like, I just have to exist.
Yeah. And I think what really helped, for a little bit, I was a journalist in Memphis. I got my first newspaper job in Memphis, Tennessee, and was like so excited to come back home after that. I love Memphis, but I had to come back home. And it was like I turned 21 like in the pandemic, right? So like I feel like my kind of formative kind of going out years were, kind of cut short by, a global pandemic. But yeah, so it was like coming back to LA and figuring out like what the sort of social scene is, and I'm sure it's so different than the way it was even in 2019, but I would have no frame of reference, right? So it really is just like coming into, and especially being in these like newer influencer-y spaces by proxy as being like a fashion reporter. It's just seeing the way LA is, or like the other ways in which LA can be represented, and it's really interesting. I think I get to play like kind of both sides, or I get to be like a middle child in the sense where it's like, there's like born and raised LA, and then there's like kind of transplant LA, and I get to experience both. I get to experience both of those and be like, that's weird. And be like, that's weird. Or it's like, okay, I get that, you know?
I get that.
Yeah, you know, sometimes even like aligning with that in some ways. And so, yeah, I feel like lines, and I talk all about this in the piece, but it was something that was so interesting to see coming back, especially coming back to LA. I mean from Memphis, because like there's lines everywhere and everybody, and I'm like, some of these lines are they like performative lines, like people just want to be seen in this line, like, you know what I mean? Like there's some lines you want to be seen in. I talk about all of that.
Yes, I think it was so clever. I think I you know, that's why I said when I was reading, I was like, wait, that's kind of clever. Also, you know, smart, clever, and I was like, that's funny too, because you talk about community that gets formed there.
Yeah.
You talk about listening to the next person gossip. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You talk about fashion. Like you said, there's some that are performative lines. But there's no way you're gonna make that line. You know what I mean? It's beautiful to have also like that sense of like LA too, of like what you said, born and raised, transplant.
And I get to be at the middle of that. Isn't that cool? But yeah, I was gonna say, like I said, like it being like all lived experience. Like, yeah, I think genuinely coming back, there were like, I think a string of like maybe 3 or 4 times I like was like in line for like a free show or something, and like it did not get in, and I'm like, I'm like, you go through all of the motions, all the stages of grief in a line, and people, and like, and I'm like, and I ended up being no stranger to line. I'm always in a line for a sample sale. I was like in line for like a trash talk show that I didn't get into, in line to see Faye Webster and I didn't get into. I don't know, I'm kind of just a freak for lines, I guess. I always find myself in one.
Traffic is also a line.
It's also a line. It's also a line. Yes.
And we always have to go around the line.
Exactly.
You know,
You get it.
but I have a fun question for you about talking about lines.
Okay.
What has been the longest line you have ever waited?
Oh my
and
goodness.
was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Oh man, if I can remember. Longest line I've ever waited. Oh, it's actually in Memphis, honestly. Funny enough. Funny enough. But in Memphis, they had just opened a Whataburger. They just opened a Whataburger, and as a reporter, I was like on the front lines. I don't even think I was the one reporting on the story. Actually, is my friend Gina, but it was like me and 2 of our other, like it was me, our friend Ray and Gina. We were all in a car together, kind of just like doing our news, and like we didn't think it was going to take nearly as long as it did for us to like actually like get a burger, and we were in line in the drive-through line for 2 hours. And I was like, in and out, I'll never speak ill of you again. And the burger was mid.
And now it's back like 30. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. But you were in the car.
Yeah, with air conditioning and
Beautiful.
an outlet, like, so
Beautiful. Yeah. I just did the longest line.
Yeah,
I think,
where was
recently. You're probably gonna know. I did a 3-hour line for Mia for shawarmas.
Oh, right.
It was worth it.
Yeah.
It was worth it. But I did not have a car and then air conditioned.
Oh, you're outside.
Yeah. But you know, I was enjoying the gossip.
Yeah. You make friends, you make enemies even in a line.
Yeah, like why
People
the person's
cut.
cutting in the front.
People cut, you know.
Yeah.
I tried to go to Community Goods the other day when it was Coachella. I was not the only person with the idea of going to Community Goods when nobody was in LA.
Yeah. You know, when you think like, oh yeah, it's gonna be empty. It's not. Everybody has the same idea. Go out on Coachella weekend because everybody's empty.
Exactly. Now everybody's in the line.
Exactly.
Everybody else is in the line. All the leftovers.
Well, those who are watching from YouTube, you know, from home. I really love the piece. I really love the piece because I feel like it's something that we all experience daily.
Yeah.
You know? And then I have another piece that I chose for this conversation that I think I told you that before this show that I was like, where was this? Where was this when I was looking for food? Where was this? Now it's saved. The tab is saved on my thing. Is where can you find Caribbean food? It's beautiful. It's interactive. You can find from all type of foods from different, but I really love this one because I honestly thought there was only one Belizean spot in here, and I thought it was only the Gardena restaurant that I forgot the name. But
there's so many Belizeans. There's no way. There's no way there's just one. There can't be.
Yeah,
Can't
you know
be.
what? Like I should have gone to the mayor. I was like, you see, didn't you saw so many flags?
Exactly.
Exactly.
In the
There's
same
so
time,
many.
you're asking everybody where they're from in Belize, just be like, okay, and where do you like to eat? Yeah, that one was kind of written out of spite. I'm not even going to lie. I just feel like, again, being around so many transplants, them being like, you know, like New York has like better Caribbean food. Like there's so many, like I don't even know where's the Jamaican spot and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, chill, like chill. I was like, watch this.
Let me show you how we ball.
Exactly. And we have like some of the most kind of like kind of innovative right now, like Caribbean food, Caribbean restaurants right now, like Bridgetown Roti. Lucia isn't mentioned in the piece, but like I wanted to update it and include Lucia. It's like one of the most beautiful restaurants I've ever been in. But it's also so diverse, and it's like, yes, there isn't like the Caribbean community is like smaller relatively to New York, for example, but we do have a really strong one here. It's like, I mean, like two of my best friends in like elementary school were like Jamaican. You know what I mean? Like you can't go far without finding a Caribbean. Again, what did I say? It's like, you know, you think everybody's African American, and then you like go to the homegirl's house and there's rice and beans. You know, like I said. And so, yeah, I really wanted to not only highlight how many, but also how diverse it is, right? Because we also have like we have Puerto Rican restaurants, we have Dominican restaurants, we have Guyanese, we have Trini, which I don't think made it into the article quite yet. But again, I really want to do an update and include some newer ones.
Yeah, I also think that I mean, just in the article, how interactive it is, because every time I would go down to it, think like it would show me what side of LA is, and I was like, oh, this is mine. I can think about like how long would it take me there. Is it close?
Right.
You know, how do you think it's so important? Like, for example, for a piece like this, and food, right? Because you do a lot of pieces in food, fashion, but this one specifically in food, to preserve culture, but also to highlight diversity in the city.
Yeah, and it's everywhere. I mean, I think the furthest restaurant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's like, you know, like they said, what is it? Mofongo's is in the valley, right? Is in the San Fernando Valley rather. And then like we went as far as like to I'm trying to remember her name, but we went as far as to San Gabriel Valley, you know, for another restaurant. You know what I mean? Caribbeans are far and wide and everywhere, and I think that's something that I also, and it's not necessarily like my job to do this for other people, but I genuinely just am trying to combat ignorance in the sense that it's like you're just not looking. You know what I mean? You're not looking. We're literally everywhere, and there's so many of us everywhere. And come to South Central. There's so many of us here.
They're food trucks. They're everywhere.
Exactly.
Like last time when I got out of the club in LA, there was a Jamaican spot.
Yeah.
Right there. And I was like, wait. And then they were like, no, we have to go. I was like, I will come back. I've never tried Jamaican food. So I was like, that's why I was so excited. Because I was like, wait, I am hungry. But I know I'm not driving. If I would have driven, I would have stopped.
Yeah.
Yes. So I need to try it.
I know,
So that's why I said I saved your list. Because I'm like, I that was the first time I saw Panamanian restaurants too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I thought that they didn't exist here.
Caribbean Soul Kitchen, Bomb Sancocho on Wilshire. Yeah.
People are going to listen to this episode. They're like, y'all got me hungry.
Yeah. Get hungry.
Yeah. Get hungry and then go to the list.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad it was helpful. I was hoping that it would be. And, you know, like I said, I want to update it because there's so many more that have, you know, emerged. And there's so many that I, you know, couldn't eat at because I only had a limited amount of time. But, you know, I really just want to put everybody on, honestly. So, yeah, there's so many.
Yeah. I think something about your work that also you center is accessibility to news. Why is that important? Because, like, you know, we talked about these 3 pieces, but you have a list of many. But specifically, why for you is so important to have not only the stories to focus on, and communities that you know, a lot of times they don't get highlighted in the news or just in media in general, but also like why it's so important to make it accessible to other people.
All we have are our stories, you know. Storytelling is so important, and I feel like you learn so much. You know, you could look at a set of data and be like, and, you know, maybe even be lost by that, maybe like understand kind of factually like what's going on. But I think hearing from people, hearing their stories, hearing the way they relate to one another, is so necessary for posterity. And so I think as far and wide as the story can go, teaches you about yourself, teaches you about other people. The more we share about ourselves, the more we share about each other and what connects us, I think keeps us connected to each other and like helps retain our humanity. I think is especially needed right now.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. And I know we didn't talk a lot about fashion, but I wanted to highlight your fashion that you're wearing today. Talk about.
I love a fit check. Okay.
Hey, do us a fit check.
Okay. Let's see. Where do I start? Okay. I'll start with my shoes. I got some Nike Air Riffs. They're the little Nike tabbies.
Love it.
Nike tabbies.
Love it.
My socks. I don't know. I might have thrifted them. Maybe got them from Amazon or something.
Love the ruffles, by the way.
Thank you. I love my little church girl socks.
Hey.
My skirt was made by a really lovely lady in LA. It's a traditional Garifuna skirt. It was originally my mom. My mom gets like a new Garifuna outfit made like maybe every other year. And this one's one of my favorites because it's like really soft and is our traditional colors, which is like gold, white, and black. And it has pockets too, which is why I really like this one. It has a pocket.
Wow.
Traditional skirt, sewn in LA. And then this top is Oddly. It's another LA-based brand that I love. And my bangles, these are traditional Belizean bangles. They have the twisty ones. The twisty ones are like I don't know if you could tell, but it's twisty. These are my aunt's. I borrowed them and have never given them back. But I loaned them back out to her. Like, she remember she's like, "Can I borrow my silver ones?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then she gives them back to me. But that said, she gave me my own set of silver, which are these like non-twisty ones. What else? Oh, I have my little scrunchie. This is from Damson Matter. Yeah, I usually wear an I Heart LA chain. I have a pendant from Yad's Jewelry, but it popped today, and I didn't have time to go fix it before coming on the pod.
Yeah, but I love it. I think that there's so much storytelling on fashion. Like even I always every time I come to an episode, I always wear my Central American map.
Of course, I saw.
And the earrings, and even this is Tegucigalpa, where I was born. It's a ring.
Cute.
And I love storytelling through fashion. I know we didn't get through that. We're gonna have to do another part 2. But why do you think it's so important, like fashion storytelling, and also to report on that?
We wear clothes every day. I mean, like very, obviously very like plainly we wear clothes every day. And how you choose to present yourself can say so much about you. Not always, because sometimes you're just circumstances, but it can say so much about you how you choose to present yourself. And I think especially in LA, we have like a swag, and so I've always been really mystified about this sort of like LA swag and how it manifests in different ways and how different cultures and lived experiences shape what we wear and how we also, how us as a community can kind of shape what we wear as well. And so, yeah, I've always been like sort of inspired by like my family. And even I think especially my mom isn't like quote unquote like a very like fashionable person. She's very much like a hoodie tight, very like LA girl in the sense it's like a hoodie tights Crocs. that's her.
Hey, that is me outside of this. You know what I mean?
Exactly. She's all where she does show out though is for her Garifuna outfits every year. When we do our celebrations for Garifuna Survival Day or 19th, which is like Garifuna Settlement Day. And so I've written a piece about this, a little essay, but it's how I've come to know style in Los Angeles is through these Garifuna outfits, right? And how kind of there are different trends within the community as well. Even if I like couldn't keep up, like I said, even if I couldn't keep up within the kids with school with the baby fat and the fat farm and the Echo Red or whatever, I always knew that my mom was like on top of the trends within our community, right? Be it from like our little button, like the type of button that was used or the type of fabric that's used, like and over time how like even like how I'm wearing my outfit right now is like very obviously like non-traditional, but there was an era where like girlies were wearing like skinny jeans with like the little peplum tops that we have. There were these kind of like trends that would come and go within the community. And yeah, that's how I came to know style. And so yeah, that's like one sort of like example of like why I think why I love like reporting on fashion, because even within this like really small community, there are these kind of trends and like tiny stories to be told about what's trendy and how that exists in like their larger environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I also love it because I think even though you say yes, how you're wearing is not very transitional, but it's very you. It's
Yeah.
a combination of who you are. LA fashion, different fashion, Belizean fashion. It's who you are.
Yeah, and I love, and like, the skirts are just so breezy. Like they're so nice, and I don't know, my mom is always just like, oh, like you're not supposed to be wearing it like that. And I was like, actually, if you think about it, like this is like what our ancestors were wearing like kind of all the time. They weren't wearing it like just on one occasion. They were wearing it to the beach where they live. They're wearing it to cook. They're wearing it to, like go walk to school, go to the beach. You know what I mean? So I like to think I'm kind of honoring my ancestors in doing so that way, or I just like think the skirt's cute.
Yeah, and I think you are.
Yeah.
I think you are. I think they're proud.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before we go, I do have some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Best Caribbean restaurant in LA.
It's got to be Little Belize in Inglewood.
Okay.
They got it.
Okay. And any like specific dish that you recommend that one?
Oof. Okay. My favorite is stewed chicken mac and cheese. And I know these are supposed to be rapid fire, but I'll explain really quickly. Stewed chicken on top of mac and cheese is like something that it's like a very like diasporic meal. Like they're not eating that in Belize. It's like it very much is like a meal that you would eat in your own house. Like your mom would make it'd be like leftover chicken, and then she'd put the Kraft, or my mom would put the Kraft mac and cheese in little, she'd make the Kraft mac and cheese in the pot, and then put the stewed chicken on top of it. And so I saw that at a restaurant, and I was like, whoa! I was like, now it's gourmet.
Now they're charging for it.
Exactly.
Extra.
Exactly.
It's extra
and
on the
they're
side.
putting parsley on top.
Oh, the parsley.
Yeah, stewed chicken mac and
Very
cheese
good.
or oxtail mac and cheese is what they also have.
Okay. Underrated LA spot.
I'll say broadly the Kenneth Hahn State Recreation Area.
Okay.
I think it's a beautiful place.
Okay. Belizean dish that everyone should try.
It's called garnaches, which I'm sure like other cultures have like a version of, but it's like corn. It's like a corn tostada. You could like fry like a regular like corn tortilla, make it crunchy, and then put like beans, but like refried beans on top. Refried black beans are my favorite. You could use either in Belize they use Dutch cheese, which is like a very specific like Parmigiano Reggiano, or actually no, sorry, that's Edam cheese. It's a different cheese. That's my bad. But I think it is whatever. It's made with milk from brown cows. You get the little crumbly kind, and my little favorite American thing to do is put ketchup on it, and then you put pickled onion. You put like your little cortado or like pickled onions on top. It's like very like quick snack. Like it's my favorite thing in the world. It's my favorite thing to make when I like don't feel like cooking.
Oh, love that. And to close this one do you have any story or publication or project that is like your dream to do in the future?
There's a story that I am interested in writing, and I think I just need to pitch. But it's specifically about, I mentioned Jankunu earlier, and I'm really interested in exploring the sort of the relationship to queer women in queer Garifuna women and their relationship to Jankunu, and how it's typically like butch lesbians in our community will dance Jankunu because it's kind of the most masculine thing you can do in our culture, and I think there's definitely a little story there.
Love that.
Yeah.
Hope to see that one day.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yes.
I gotta pitch it.
Pitch it.
My editor's watching this like, girl, you didn't tell me anything about that.
Well, before we close, tell us where can they find you? How can they support you to the people?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Astrid.Kayembe. And yeah, I like to post my stories sometimes. You can read them if you're interested. I also do work with an organization called Black Image Center, a 501c3 arts nonprofit dedicated to giving Black storytellers the resources they need to be able to thrive and tell their own stories. So you could donate to them. I would love that to help support the cause. And yeah, that's it.
I love it. Well,
Okay.
no, thank you so much, Astrid, for being here. This conversation was lovely. I feel like I can continue talking.
I know I want to chat.
Yeah, like we're going to continue chatting. And we said that we need part 2.
I would love that.
We're going to have another part 2, girl. Now we need to talk about fashion. Yeah,
There's so
like,
much.
There's so much that we only had like 45, like an hour, and I'm already like, ah.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yeah. No, but thank you so much.
Of course.
I hope you had fun, and I'll see ya on the next episode.
Okay. Can I
Yeah, no, you want to say something?
Yeah,
Yes,
I
go
wanted
for
to
it.
mention one thing.
Yeah,
'Cause
go
I
for
did
it.
tell my friend I was going to mention it.
Go.
I'm working on an art exhibition with my friend. His name is True. He's curating an exhibition specifically about Belizean Americans through the lens of labor. And so I'm hopefully going to have an art piece in it. Can't wait to share it.
Well,
It'll be a
let us
textile
know.
work.
Let us know. We'll be there.
Yeah.
We'll share it. That's exciting.
It opens October 22nd, if I'm not mistaken, and it closes on November 19th. So we're working on it right now. We're really excited. Yeah.
Yes. Well, excited for that. Let us know. We'll continue there to support you.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye.